is Freshly Pressed, looking at the news stories making the headlines. Our analysts are in, and I'll let you know how you can be a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number is 0809 440 981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. And we're streaming live on YouTube as well, so you can catch the live stream. Just search for Smooth981 and post a comment on there as well. Our analysts this morning, Mr. C and AB Bozimo. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Zibby. Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. All right. Both my analysts are well suited up this morning, and I have to say I love it. Okay, we're starting off with The Guardian. The federal government's economic advisors have come up with a proposal towards the merger of the FIRS, which is the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Nigerian Customs Service, and NIMASA, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Now, the council believes that this will enable an efficient collection of all direct and indirect taxes, as well as levies on behalf of the federal government. Mr. C?
Okay, so thank you. The current president has a policy advisory council that is set up for advising on the steps to take for essential purpose. Part of the recommendations they have made a proposal towards the merger of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Nigerian Customs Service, and the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, into the Nigerian Revenue Service. Now, they believe that this will enable an efficient collection of all direct and indirect taxes as well as levies on behalf of the federal government. Now, another proposal we have made is for the passage of an emergency economic reform bill, which will grant the current president special powers to drive his economic reform agenda and supports the delivery of sustainable and inclusive economic growth. Now, they've also come up with a report, 90-page documents, which proposes reforms in the Central Bank of Nigeria would help achieve about $50 to $60 billion in external reserve growth, and also a monthly inflow of about $6 to $8 billion from export earnings and other forms of capital inflow based on the premise of a 500 to 600 exchange rate of the naira to the US dollar. Now, they also believe that we can grow domestic refining capacity to 2 million barrels per day in the next 8 years, including modular refineries, and then create 50 million jobs in the next 8 years, and increase GDP growth to 1 trillion naira. Now, from all of this, a few things are clear. The current president wants us to borrow more money. He wants to borrow more money because he believes that with the more money he gets, he will be able to stimulate economic growth. Now, that has not been the case in Nigeria because previous loans that have been taken, we haven't seen or felt or received the full benefit of those loans that were taken. Now, the Policy Advisory Council has made very bold statements, very bold goals. 1 trillion naira growth in GDP over 8 years. This is not the campaign trail. The question here is how? You want to grow domestic crude oil production to 2 million barrels a day. Currently, we're at 1.2 billion barrels as at, I think, end of May. How is this going to be done? We've passed the point where you make bold statements. We need to see the how. We need to see the details. We need to know if we're on the right track. So it's literally like saying we want to travel to Abuja. We want to know the routes, not that we wake up and the driver is at now too. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be on your way to Abuja. Now, they've also said they want to sell existing federal government assets, including the suboptimal NNPC refineries, and then including buyback options. Now, the question is this: if you truly want to dispose of these assets, why are we putting in buyback options? What are these buyback options supposed to do? And if you believe these assets are any good, why sell them off? Why not lease them or get technical partners that can come in and help derive more economic benefits from these assets? So it's a very big ask, and they want to raise debt ceiling, the existing debt ceiling limits. Now, the challenge is we've had an increasing portion of our revenue being devoted to debt payments. If we take on more debt, we will literally get to the point where we are unable to make principal payments and or interest. Now, we have a debt management office, and we need to know what this debt management office is suggesting with regards to the proposals. But it's early days. Let's see how this bill or this emergency economic reform bill is passed, and then let's see where it takes us from.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. C. AB, do you want to add to that? You're muted, please.
I think Mr. C has captured all the pertinent issues. We can move on to the next story.
All right, can we move on to the story coming from Punch? The National Emergency Management Agency is planning to write state governors to remind them of the likelihood of flooding this year so they can speed up the provision of mitigating factors.
I think this is extremely serious. And as I've said many times, the rainy season doesn't take anybody in Nigeria by surprise. It happens every year. It has happened at least 63 times since Nigeria was made a nation. So we shouldn't ever pretend and say, oh, it's wet, it's flooding. Last year in particular, we had, and during his lame duck session, the then president said he gave a 90-day deadline that expired sometime in February for a report, a comprehensive report to be done on flooding. Nobody listened to him. The rains have started again. A few people died in Lagos over the weekend, and it could quickly become very much worse. There are three levels. There's the federal level, the state, and the local government, and of course, individuals. At the federal level, we have a responsibility to dredge our main river, which are the Niger and Benue, simply because when they get filled up with silt, they act like a dish. And everybody knows that you can contain much less water in a dish than you can contain in a bucket. You need to make those channels much deeper. Then at the state levels, where everybody happens to exist, between surveys and historical precedents, let's determine where the greatest areas of risk are and the populations related then, and prepare now in advance some evacuation and management plans, and let them be properly communicated so people know what to do. In areas let's carry out desilting, open channels. That's at the state and local government level. Then at the individual level, can we please, as a nation of well-meaning individuals, stop indiscriminately disposing of trash? Nothing personal is more disgusting and abhorrent to me than driving behind a car, seeing a window wound down, and an object simply flies out and people continue going on. We are a serious part of the problem. Our behavior. We have to start right now to properly gather and dispose of our refuse, because it ultimately finds its way into the drainage channels. So at all levels, we have to start now, because take it or not, the floods are coming. Even though irresponsibility has been the hallmark over a new leaf. Yes.
All right, yes. We couldn't hear you for a few seconds. If you could please just continue. Thank you.
I was just saying, lastly, we have a chance, even though irresponsibility has characterized our government responses before, let's turn over a new leaf and make a difference to the very real suffering of people during floods this year.
All right, thank you, AB. Going on to some messages coming through. Jim says it was Babangida that moved customs to the Ministry of Finance, thereby blunting its border security responsibility. The proposed merger will kill it altogether. Yemi from Marina says, thanks for an apt analysis. I however want to explain the reason for a buyback option. A buyback option allows the government to retake the assets if the new management are unable to deliver to expectations. It's the same reason Yaradua was able to take back refineries from the private sector in the past. Buyback options are becoming popular in the finance industry, especially in the derivative markets. And God bless Nigeria. And let's see. AB Ambo from Badagry says, do we ever learn our lessons from past experiences when it comes to flooding? There's always enough time between the dry season and the rainy season to prepare for flooding, but we are always caught unawares. From Punch, many states are currently battling with a shortage of teachers as those who retired have not been replaced through regular recruitments. The national president of the Nigeria Union of Teachers, Titus Amber, expressed concern about the shortage and said many governors shunned the advice of the union, which had pleaded that retired teachers should be replaced through recruitment.
Okay, so thank you, Zibby. So this is just another recurring incident in general malaise that is pervading the land called Nigeria. Now, this is not a new problem. We've been running out of teachers for a bit because all the old teachers who qualified back in the days have started to retire, and it will be steady and continuous. And we've also noticed that we're not getting the right number of teachers to replace those who are leaving. Now, tack on the fact that in the UK now, there's now an immigration route for teachers. So just like we saw the mass exodus in the health field, we will begin to see an exodus in the teaching field because they now have an option to migrate for a better standard of life, better options, not only for them, but also for their offspring. Now, how did we get here? Both at the national and sub-national levels, we have consistently paid lip service to education. So you see that education gets less than 5% of the budget each year. Then when you add on to that the fact that teachers are poorly paid, and despite the poor pay, they're irregularly paid, they can be owed for months on end, it's no surprise that we're where we are today. Now, as a result of the teacher shortage, the teachers who are left are overworked, overstressed, and when that happens, you don't need a soothsayer or an oracle to tell you that the quality of education will drop even further. So we have students who are not being properly taught. We have students who may not even be taught at all because their schools are in rural areas and they don't have teachers. And that's why there's a recourse to the National Youth Service Program where they deploy corpers, especially to the rural areas, to teach. Now, the challenge with that is for every corper who is probably committed to teaching and putting in a decent shift of work, you have 5 or 6 more, even 7 more who truly cannot be bothered, roll up into class, unprepared, unconcerned, and the students end up getting the full shock of that sort of treatment. We then find exam grades come out, exam results come out, and it's generally a poor performance. Now, to reverse this, both the national and sub-national governments need to start paying serious attention to education. In fact, declare a state of emergency in the education sector, increase the level of funding at the budget level to at least 10, 11%. I do not know any country on this planet that has grown and developed without paying proper attention to education. Because if the people are not educated, one, they will not behave themselves, they will not understand core values and principles, and they will not have the requisite skills and knowledge to explore and exploit business opportunities that are open to them. So So this is a clarion call to the governments, national, sub-national levels. This is also a clarion call to the trade teachers union, even the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress. Put heads together, involve the private sector, have a 10-year plan roadmap to bring education up to scratch.
All right, let us know what your thoughts are. WhatsApp number is 0809 444 981. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Stay with us. The show continues.
Hi people, my name is Grace and you are with me State to Smooth 98.1. Our orchestra. Watching you move is like listening to a symphony of body parts directed by a maestro. When you walk, it is like watching a G clef stroll across an octave accented by a C sharp. When you talk,
Maybe, can we go to 6 next? Can we go to 6 next?
Yes, preferably, actually, preferably.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
I will keep it here on 98.1. This is just music signing.
All right, we're going back on. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. We're looking at the news stories making the headlines. I see your messages coming through. Please keep them coming. 0809 444 981. That is the WhatsApp number. And you can also tweet at Smooth981 and catch the live stream as well. Just search for Smooth981 and you can catch the live stream and post a comment. Let's look at some messages coming through. This one comes from Deji and he says, I think it's a bit late for major solutions towards the coming floods. Trends and facts should have guided the stakeholders. The fire brigade approach seems best suited to us. The rains are here already. Even the weather, as predictable as it is getting the best of us. The floods properly channeled can practically generate energy. Nigeria, we need to think outside the box. And Olabode says, I'm certain that most people dumping a refuse indiscriminately are poor people. You don't expect a dying man to care about the environment. Government agencies should properly do their work as well as enforcement. I don't think I can agree with that, though. It cuts across the different classes.
Absolutely. You'll see posh cars, wound down windows, and untrained people throwing things out. So it's not just the poor.
All right. And Emeka from Amuwo says, when people believe that the reward of a teacher is in heaven, why would anyone want to go into that profession? Teachers in Nigeria have been so poorly treated. Let's move on to this day. The governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, says the nation spends about $500 billion annually on the importation of dairy products. And he's reiterated the need for the country to focus on agriculture and production to drive economic growth and development.
Okay, I think it's about $500 million, which is the equivalent of 300 billion naira. But,
Thank you.
You know, the story is full of numbers. That's not what I'll
AB, are you there?
focus on here.
Okay.
You see, we're unemployed. Yes, I am. And you have a situation where we're exporting money to get things that we can eminently provide here. In the height of the farmer-herder crisis, which as far as I'm concerned, is merely herders attacking farmers because nobody has ever taken a piece of land to go and attack a herder minding no business elsewhere. That was all about, livestock, including cows. You have countries that actually have a large part of their GDP from dairy products. So I thought that with all the news being made about, conflicts between herders, would actually be a country that shows up very high on the list of countries that earn a lot of money from livestock and dairy products, we don't even appear in the top 20. So there you have an opportunity. If we took that $500 million and invested it in businesses surrounding dairy products, think of the multiplier effect, not just for the people directly involved in farming, but in the marketing, the transportation, all the other things that are part of just that single part of agriculture. We're talking of only dairy products. We're not talking poultry, not talking of plants. So I think the governor is saying his state is willing to partner with any and everybody willing to bring agricultural ideas. I'm a big fan of those programs where you talk of how it's made. If you see how modern poultry and dairy farming is done, it's a sight to see, but we don't even have to go that far. All we have to do is old-fashioned methods that employ lots of people, and we can solve two problems at the same time. We stop exporting money and we increase employment and upgrade people's skills. What's not to love? So the governor is pointing out what, in my view, is a big opportunity for assorted states, governments, and private individuals to get involved with. I think this should be where we're turning to, and stop thinking that oil is our solution. Oil is 2,000 at off the ground in our heads, if only we can use them.
All right, let's go on to WhatsApp. Gilbert Musa says, on perennial floods in Nigeria, the floods in Lagos in 2004, and the floods in the South and North Central region in 2012 was enough of a bitter pill for Nigeria to come up with a master plan for flood control. We should equally revisit the 1980-1982 master plan initially set up by the Shagari administration for flood control. Adebola says the core members being deployed to these schools are a product of the already broken down educational system. So what exactly are they teaching? This is a vicious cycle. It's very scary. The standard of education is no longer a standard. Have you seen the crop of undergraduates online? I'm afraid of the future of this country. From Daily Trust, Nigeria, 13 others sign MOU on 17.5 trillion naira gas pipeline.
Okay, so thank you. Now, this is something that has been long. When the Russia-Ukraine crisis broke out, there was an opportunity that was missed by all these countries, because if this pipeline had been constructed, then they would have had a steady source of gas to supply the gas too. But never say that it's better late than never, and 13 countries have now signed up to link up their countries via a gas pipeline. The pipeline will cost about $25 billion, and it's going to bring immense benefits to each member country. Now, apart from the obvious benefit, which is they're able to sell the gas to interested customers in Europe and North America, they're also able to get enough gas to power their respective domestic power industries. Now, there has been a concerted move recently, especially in the developed world and Asia, to move away from fossil-powered power sources to natural gas, cleaner sources. And a number of countries have signed up to the Kyoto Accord, promising to eliminate fossil-based power generation sources by certain dates, by certain quarter for year. I cannot recall the year right now. Now, where does this lead them? Or how does Nigeria benefit from all of this? Now, with that pipeline in place, and given the fact that we've unbundled our power transmission, generation, and distribution system, interested states, interested subnational governments can also sign up to be part of this pipeline, and then you have a steady source of gas delivered to your generation companies. Now, if your generation companies are producing round the clock, there will be enough power to power businesses, power homes within the respective subnational territories. Now, when that happens, the level of business activity will increase. Now, when business activity increases, gross domestic product increases. People, the consuming power of people will increase. How does that benefit the subnational government? on the national government. Income taxes are paid to the subnational government. Business taxes are paid to the national government, and everyone gets to win. So this is a project that everyone needs to key, and even the corporate entities should also key into this, because this should be gas on demand, and it's literally like flicking the switch or opening the taps, and it will help everyone. And I'm sincerely hoping that all 13 governments can see this through, and let's see this pipeline come to fruition.
All right, let us know what your thoughts are. 0809. Yes, AB.
Yes, Nigeria has been described as a gas-rich nation with a touch of oil. When you think of what waste and opportunity has been lost thus far with the oil that we're supposedly blessed with, this again is an opportunity, if well managed, to actually transform the fortunes of Nigeria. So the pipeline is good. I urge that apart from thinking of how to export all our gas and get revenues, we also should develop our industrial and business sectors, because we could just make that same mistake of thinking of exporting oil, adding zero value and gaining zero value from that gas. It's important, whatever mistakes we made for 62, 63 years, we stop them now and be forward looking, so that we don't have another repeat after X number of years where the gas is all gone and we haven't made national progress.
All right, 0809 444 0981. From Daily Trust, residents of the FCT are calling on the government to provide more healthcare facilities in the territory. Now, there are concerns that across the FCT, and especially in the rural areas, healthcare facilities are out of reach for so many.
Sadly, this is not a new call. Everybody has to have recognized by now that there are insufficient primary and secondary and tertiary healthcare facilities for people. So people tend to all go to the teaching hospitals, if you will, overwhelming the staff there. When you add the fact that the conditions aren't good enough for the professionals, a number of them have left. And so what's left is a very tattered health sector. So right now, in the middle of an event held by a certain religious organization, people are making comments. It goes without saying that there are certain ratios that should exist between the staff and the population. I think Nigeria is far out of skew with that. The facilities available should allow the professionals to do their work with a sense of purpose, belonging, and hope. Nothing could be more depressing for a doctor than going to work and knowing that with all your knowledge, you really have no way of helping the people that will come to you. So the call is well-founded. Whether it will be responded to by the appropriate parties remains to be seen. We cannot depend only on private healthcare facilities. The public healthcare facilities still have to work. Boris Johnson, during COVID, went to a public healthcare facility in the UK. Why don't our leaders have or make that choice as well?
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your messages. That's all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Special thanks once again to our analysts, Mr. C and AB Bozimo, for joining us this morning. Thank you. Do stay with us. There is a lot more to come. Thank you, AB. Do stay with us. There's a lot more to come on the Smooth Breakfast.
AB, have a great day and productive week, yeah?
You do the same. Stay cool.